This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code DETROIT to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 102 of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On this week's episode, CM Punk joining WWE, or is he joining AEW? We've got the lowdown and we've got the scoop, so you're going to want to stick around for that. Of course, this is a monumental week in wrestling. We're going to discuss AEW. Some big things happened on NXT. Of course, we're going to review Raw, but we're going to kick the show off previewing SmackDown, because as you know, it is happening tonight. And doing the show with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon, and similar to last week, he will be the guy who will be piloting this ship, because I am piloting a vehicle on Interstate I-80, I-90, coming back home to the sweet, sweet Motor City. That's right, Detroit, baby. What's up, buddy?
I'm a little surprised. WWE's been calling all the legends. I didn't receive any phone call to go down there. You know, you got The Rock, Hulk Hogan. John Macaroon is notoriously now absent. It's kind of weird, man. I don't understand.
Oh, you're a funny guy.
No doubt. Dude.
Hey, you have some of the best signs in the back with the crowd. You make some of the best hand gestures and facial expressions when you're in the crowd and they pan to you. So you are a legend, at least in our minds.
Exactly. And when you see what Fox committed, it's fascinating, really, when you look at that deal, because even many wrestlers and observers are really surprised. Fox paid $1 billion for one show. They didn't pay for the entire library of WWE programming, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. They paid over $1 billion for Friday Night SmackDown. So do you know how special SmackDown is going to be? Look, if you can't watch a show this year, you need to find any way possible, if you're a wrestling fan, Friday night, 8 o'clock, you better be in front of that television, because they're going to pull out all the stops. The Rock is coming back. Just that alone is going to have me trying to find a way to watch it on Fox. So I'm going to be definitely excited to see SmackDown celebrating its 20-year anniversary, and I want to see how the matches are going to be placed. I can't wait to see how they're going to definitely take advantage of the returning Brock Lesnar. You're going to have Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair taking on Sasha Banks and Bayley, Roman Reigns and Eric Rowan. A lot has got me interested, but obviously when you have The Rock booked for a show, I just can't wait to see how off the cuff he goes, or do they establish maybe a feud? And do they establish something that's going to happen maybe in Saudi Arabia, or something that's going to be profound that's going to take place or influence Hell in a Cell? I can't wait for tonight, 8 p.m.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a stat card. And you're right, when you pay that kind of money for one program, like you said, not even the library, not even some other residual shows. Now, Fox will be doing other things with WWE, but they paid $1 billion for SmackDown. SmackDown will now be the #1 program. Raw forever and a day has been Vince's baby, but SmackDown, because of the money that Fox paid, will now become the #1 program, and it's going to be heavily invested in. You've already seen it with the moving of the commentary pieces. Michael Cole is now hosting. He's now your commentator for SmackDown, which is a big deal. And soon Michael Cole, we'll talk about what's going to happen with him in the news and notes segment, but it's a big deal. And you're right. Bringing in The Rock, that's appointment viewing. That makes you want to tune in. That makes you want to see what's going to happen. And you're right. This could potentially help spark a feud going forward. I'm not sure if you've heard the rumors. I don't think we talked about it in the news notes at all. But Roman Reigns has come out and said that he wants to face his cousin, The Rock, in a match. He wants to have a long-term feud with his cousin. And I think that would be great. The Rock would be the ideal heel to go up against a white meat babyface like Roman Reigns. It would help get Roman. I don't know if it'd get him over or not. I'm not really sure how this would work because The Rock is beloved by all. Even my mother loves The Rock. She would come into my bedroom when I was younger, and she'd be like, "Ooh, is that The Rock?" And she would sit there for like 15 minutes watching wrestling with me, and then once they cut to commercial, she's like, "Okay, I got to leave now." Like, it was messed up. It was kind of gross and kind of weird. But The Rock is that over, and he's that much of a draw. And Roman Reigns and The Rock could be big-time money for not just Fox, not just WWE, but possibly WrestleMania.
Look, I can't wait potentially to see the surprise. Something has to happen, right? Yes, it's going to be Brock Lesnar. Yes, The Rock is going to be there. Yes, a lot of legends are going to be booked. I want to see how the legends that are going to return. Dude, the sheer number of legends, when you see that list, like Trish Stratus and the likes of Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Rock, there's going to be a great interplay. And those shows sometimes, don't deliver the right way. But if you can potentially create a memory, maybe with Becky Lynch, maybe getting the rub off of some of these legends to some of these young cats, I do think there's going to be maybe a major surprise somewhere along the way in this show. Because, look, the gauntlet has been laid. This is the biggest week. This is the biggest now time in the history of professional wrestling because of AEW and what they've presented. I think WWE has got to respond in a major way, especially, don't you think, with all the new eyes on Fox? Remember, this isn't cable. This is network television.
Network television, yep.
Fox. So I would ask you, what kind of rating you think they'll pull? Do you think they'll get in the mid-3s? Is high 4s? Should that be expected? Or when you look at the first show with all the legends and being on Fox, would you think maybe if it just bumps into the 3s, WWE would have done well?
So this is what's weird, right? So SmackDown on Tuesday night regularly pulls anywhere from a 1.5 to, I think it's like a 2.2. It doesn't ever really do extremely well. I think 2.2 has been its highest over the last, 5 years. So it normally doesn't pull extremely high ratings. Now, here's the thing. It's a Friday night. How many guys do you know are staying in on a Friday night to watch a wrestling program? I think it's a really hard sell to the demographic that you're really going at. You're going at that 18 to 35-year-old male. I think that's a hard sell for those guys. But you're right. It is on network television. Fox has done a great job promoting this. The legends are coming out. I could see this doing a solid low 3, but I think it's probably going to end up somewhere in a mid to upper 3 and possibly push a 4 rating. I think this is going to do big business, at least for 1 week and this week alone.
Yeah, I think the big brass would be happy if they just beat the numbers that they normally get on USA. I think that's probably the starting point is, okay, at least minimum get a 3. minimum, and then see what happens, because they're going to be pulling out all the stops and things like that. It's going to be a big show. People are going to be paying attention to it, especially on the heels of AEW and what they did with their show, Dynamite. So I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be an unbelievable experience. It'll be one for the ages. And for wrestling fans, it's the dawn of a new era, baby. It's the new era, and it's great. A lot of competition, a lot of shows, a lot of opportunities to watch great matches and talk about it. It's perfect. The wrestling, the wrestling world.
Does it feel like something has changed this week?
Yes.
Like just the programming alone. It seems like everything has ratcheted up.
Business has picked up. Yes.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I don't want to say it's Attitude Era-esque with the competitiveness and just the level of programming that's going on, but I feel like this competition that AEW brought on Wednesday night has really forced WWE's hand, and I think WWE has responded well. And it just feels different than the crap that we have been getting served for so long. Raw has just been kind of this show, and it just kind of gets a free pass because we have nothing else. SmackDown has done a great job. So SmackDown for a while has been a very good show wrestling wise, but it just feels like WWE has just kind of spoon-fed us gruel, and we're like, here, eat this, and we had to because we had nothing else. SmackDown is still a really good show. NXT has ratcheted up its competition level and looks amazing. NXT has, I don't know, since its inception, I think has probably been the best brand out of the three, at least storytelling and wrestling wise, because you get some of that indie flavor with some of the high flyers and some of the crazy stunts, and you don't get the silly, wonky, weird storylines. It's very conducive to old school wrestling, which I think both of us are a fan of, because Triple H has that mindset for the old school way of doing things. But it just feels like this week has been completely different. It feels like everything has just kind of been taken up another notch, which is great if you're a wrestling fan.
For the fans, it's way better because competition breeds definitely better shows. You saw it. You saw competition. You're seeing now the wrestlers are starting to shift around, and they have opportunities to really, really better themselves. And look, it's a big week when the WWE comes out and acknowledges another company's success. In my mind, that's a big week. That's a big statement. And in my mind, I think it's a mistake. I think WWE should just go about their business. For them to put out a release and acknowledge that AEW is there and it's great for the fans, I think it's weird. It's a little unusual, and it kind of gives AEW a little bit more momentum. So in my mind, I thought that was a big mistake, but it's a big deal. That AEW show, I can't wait to talk to you about it. Big time, big deal. And now the wrestling world has been put on notice. It's big time, baby. Now the wrestling world waited for us to get to 100 shows for us to get into our groove. Now we can talk about some big time storylines, some big time shows. We're now going to be talking about 3 shows a week. I can't wait to talk about 3 professional wrestling shows a week. It's going to be awesome, especially with how the storylines take place, who's going to go where, who's in what. It's a good time, man. It's fun. I'm excited. Every time we schedule a time to talk, I get really excited, and I can't wait to break it all down. It's a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is good. This is really, really good. I'm glad AEW hit the road running. Look, I think let's kind of transition into Raw here. I think Raw did a decent enough job with the show. I felt like they were trying extremely hard to hit a home run. And, sometimes when you grip the bat a little too tight, you just kind of swing and you strike out. And I think with Raw, there were some good things, but there were some things where you're just kind of like, do we really need that? Do you really need to do this? Especially this week. There were a couple of things that kind of had me scratch my head saying, what'd you think about Raw this week?
Exactly. I graded it a C. I thought after that first segment, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the best wrestling show ever. I mean, I was really hyped. I was hyped for the way in which they established Brock Lesnar as a heel. I legitimately was scared of the dude. I was like, oh no, Dominic's going to get his ass whooped. And then they set him up, and Dominic got his ass whooped, and Rey Mysterio got his ass whooped. When Brock Lesnar came out, the crowd was hype. It was perfect. But then after that, you just kind of saw a show, and I didn't like it. I wasn't really thoroughly entertained. I saw myself hitting that fast forward button quite a bit, and I guess the part that really caught my attention was, which I guess was okay, was Seth Rollins and Rusev having a match, and the big surprise with Lana and Lashley making out. But there was a part in that show that I thought potentially was a missed opportunity, and that's when you had Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair in the ring with The Miz, and they're going back and forth, and they're talking about stuff, and they're jiving, and you can tell they're going off script, and the crowd's really...
They're kind of fumbling over their own lines every now and again.
Yeah, they're trying to keep up with it, and I thought they should have kept it going or did something different. Then Seth Rollins comes out, and I just felt like when his music hit, it was a buzzkill. I think maybe they could have had anybody else, a debuting character, maybe even Becky Lynch. They could have announced a different angle. I just felt like it was a missed opportunity because Seth Rollins, it doesn't sound right. Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Seth Rollins, doesn't sound right. He wasn't big enough to interject in that moment. It should have been AJ Styles. It should have been somebody else, someone on a bigger stage. They could have even had it to be Randy Orton at that time to come out first because you needed a little bit of a higher profile guy at that time. But Seth Rollins just doesn't seem like he belongs yet. It seems like he's close, but he's not main event. He's just not there.
So this is the thing with Seth Rollins, right? I think he's a little bit overexposed, and I think that's the problem. That's kind of the rub on him, and that's why the fans have such a hard time with him and buying into his character, because Seth Rollins is very good in the ring. I think we both agree. He's very, very good in the ring. His promo skills, not so great, but when he comes out, he elicits a reaction from the crowd, but it's not a strong reaction. And for a face, he does not elicit what you would deem the right or the correct reaction. It's always like his music hits and fans are like, yeah. And then it just fizzles. It falls flat. It's really weird. I think WWE sees something in him and they like what they see, but then they push him so hard that it just doesn't connect with the fans. And it could just be his character. His character doesn't have that connection with me. It's like Steve Austin. Forever and a day, Steve Austin has connected with the wrestling fan. It doesn't matter how far back you go, and it doesn't matter how far forward we go. I think we could be 60 years old. Stone Cold Steve Austin could be wheeled out in a wheelchair. He could still guzzle 3 beers and cut a mean promo, and we're going to be like, we still love Steve Austin because it's Steve Austin, and he connects with the fan. I don't think Seth Rollins has that connection with the fan, and that's why they turn on him after WWE exposes him as much as they do. Because once they put a belt on him, he's out there 2-3 times for a Monday Night Raw, or he's out there 3 times for a SmackDown. And you're just kind of like, all right, cool, we're done with Seth Rollins. Like, we move on. That's why everybody loves The Fiend right now. How often is The Fiend shown? The Fiend is shown like one time for 30 seconds at the end of a broadcast. And it's usually leering over Seth Rollins at this moment in time. So it's great because he's not overexposed.
100%. I think that maybe he's got to have a character shift. He's got to have an advocate, or he's got to maybe segue into some vignettes, some more creative type stuff where people can maybe have a laugh or elicit some different type of emotion. But yeah, Seth Rollins needs a character infusion, something different, a big time character infusion. Maybe even, I think, just maybe they made a mistake and sent the wrong dude to NXT. I think Seth Rollins in NXT might be the cream of the crop and might elevate a bunch more cats. The natural fit might be NXT for Seth Rollins, as opposed to what we did see. Finn Balor showed up in NXT, which for that show I thought was a surprise and a huge mistake. I think it's just all around bad for Finn Balor. Terrible.
I do too. I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. I think him and Adam Cole put together a fantastic, phenomenal match. I think it would be great. But I think you and I both believe the same exact thing. I think you and I both want to see the same exact thing. And that is Finn Balor up on the main roster working with the OC. I think it would be such a natural fit. And I think it would allow him to tap into that heel character of his and be the natural leader, or at least the second lieutenant in charge of the OC. And I think you start to build out the heel faction and make it the most dominant heel faction you have in WWE. And I think they're missing a major opportunity here by sending him back to NXT. I don't understand why you don't bring him up to the main roster and put him on Raw or SmackDown with those guys and let him wreak havoc. I think it's good for the guys in NXT. I just think it's really bad Finn Balor, and I just don't understand it.
NXT show was unbelievable. I thought the ending was great with Adam Cole on the ramp, and then the returning Tommaso Ciampa. I thought that was really cool to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing.
Tommaso's a badass.
Tommaso's badass.
He's so awesome.
Yeah, NXT was good. I thought that when I went back and reviewed it, the wrestling is great, the crowd is hyped, and right now it's just a good show. It's just not for me. I mean, I just can't absorb everything live, but, it's just, when you watch it, it's sensory overload. Like, those fans are into it from start to finish, and they're like screaming and yelling and chanting, and it's like, man, when you're coming home and you're tired, it's just sensory overload. I thought the AEW show had just enough cheering and just enough lulls to make it a little bit different than NXT. But NXT is doing great. But I was surprised at their first rating that they had opposing AEW. I was a little bit surprised. Less than 1 million people, almost AEW doubled them, which indicates to me that everybody taped NXT and watched AEW live, which is not the best sign for an established brand like NXT. I thought that was a major surprise at how big the disparity was in the ratings.
Yeah, when the rating came out this on Thursday morning, I was shocked. I was like, wow, that is crazy, absolutely insane, and I was blown away by the fact that AEW did that well. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, big number. So we're going to get into our AEW review. We both caught it. We both said the same thing, in terms of the show. Overall, I think we both enjoyed the show. And, at the very least, okay, you see the direction. It's a wrestling show for 2 hours. There were very limited promos. It was bell to bell, get the guys in the ring, get the girls in the ring, and let's wrestle. That's fine. I thought that is different. That's something that is unique to the wrestling experience, is to have a 2-hour wrestling show where a lot of the action is wrestling, which was great. For me, though, I thought this show needed to be a grand slam. You needed to present something. You need to present something like, this is AEW. Throughout the show, as soon as it started, pyro was good. Cody's entrance was lit. Everything was good. But then as you're watching it, with Tony Schiavone, JR, Excalibur, the vibe of the experience, the way it looked with the black and the set, the way it literally looked like a modern version of Nitro. And it was cool. But you couldn't shake it. It literally looked like WCW 2019. It wasn't distinct. It wasn't very unique to what we've seen now. It basically was, okay, 2001 ended, WCW got canceled, here we are again, giving it a reboot. And I was like, no, I think the set needs to change. You got to have colors. You got to have maybe a different kind of stage. You got to have something a little different than that old school wrestling, in that it doesn't hearken you to advancement, to progressiveness. It reminds you of the past, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. But for me, I thought that this show needed to be a grand slam, and it was a solid double. There was way too many mistakes, way too many mistakes in the ring. A lot of mistakes in terms of the announcing, a lot of mistakes in terms of some of the promos that happened, a lot of small stuff that happened, not a lot of big things. Obviously, the dude falling off the top rope was embarrassing. The women's contender, in the AEW women's title match, she almost dropped the guy on his head. So I looked at that and I said, it didn't come across as the elite wrestling show. Now, the second hour, much better than the first. Much better. Elite. And to have the debut of Jack Hager, it was awesome. So everything was good. But overall, the show for me, I give it a B-.
Yeah, I thought it was a good show. I'm sorry, I have a cop pulling somebody over alongside me, so things were getting a little bit hairy for a second. I wasn't really sure what I needed to do. I'm on the 2-lane interstate. It's crazy. Anyways, I thought it was a good show. You're right. There were way too many mistakes, especially from the announcing crew. Tony Schiavone, at one point when he was interviewing SCU up at the ramp, he forgot which promotion he was working for. I think he said WWE, WCW.
Yeah, he started stuttering. We all caught that. Spit it out, Tony.
He said every promotion he's ever worked for. It was insane. I was like, this is crazy. But look, I thought it was a good program. You're right. It needed to come out. It needed to be a grand slam. It needed to come out on fire. It didn't do that. But I think what you got was you got a solid taste of what they're trying to do and what they're going to bring to you every single week. Things do need to be sharpened up, and things do need to be refined a little bit. But overall, I thought it was an entertaining show, and it really did feel when you described it. We were going back and forth through text message. When you described it as a modern day Nitro, it really had that feeling, especially with the way it ended. With the way it ended, if you go back and you think about it, almost every WCW Nitro ended with some kind of multi-man brawl in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the heels always stood tall. It was insane.
Yeah.
It's like they had Eric Bischoff writing this the script for this wrestling program. It was bananas.
Yeah.
But
they had a purpose. They had a purpose to get over the heels, which was executed flawlessly. It was good.
Yes. But overall, I thought it was a decent show. I would give it a B, and I think maybe in time, as we go on and I kind of look back on it and I reflect on it a little bit more and I digest it, I think it might be able to move up to a B+. Buddy called me out for not being as active as I should be in our group chat on the Flick Chat app. And if you guys ever want to watch wrestling and you want to message us, go to the Flick Chat app and get on it, because we're in there all the time. I'm not in there as much as I should be. And Buddy called me out on it, which credit to him. But I told him, I said, hey, I thought it was good. I thought some things needed to improve. Overall, I give it a B. I think maybe a B+ in time, because it's one of those things that as you look back on it, you're like, oh, this wasn't too bad. I thought the Cody Rhodes Sammy Guevara match was a very good match.
Great match. Good match.
I like the main event. I like how Dean Ambrose came down and tussled with Kenny Omega. I thought that was great. You had Jack Swagger, who is now going by Jack Hager, come in and just start wrecking worlds. I mean, way to get creative with your name, bro. But,
Exactly.
we the people came in there and started wrecking house. I thought that was cool. I thought that was a neat little pop, and it was something different, So I thought there was a lot of things they did really well. I think a couple things just need to get fine-tuned. And I think they'll kind of work those kinks out as the show goes along.
Okay, quick hitters here on the AEW show. Should Cody be the next title contender for Jericho's belt? Is it a good next feud?
I think he has to.
Yeah.
I think at this time
perfect.
he has to.
Yeah, it's a good feud. I think you have a situation now where you got two top guys going at it. It'll be a great match for pay-per-view. I 100% agree with you. Man, cuz is MJF the number one heel in the world? He's sweet.
Amazing.
A natural. He just came out there. He lit up that dude. He lit him up. He lit him up flawlessly. It was so good.
He lit up the crowd. It was great.
Yes.
He's so fluid, and he's flawless in his delivery. He does a great job in the ring, and his promo skills are top notch. I love it. He is great.
Pac goes over on Hangman. Pac's 2-0 with victories over Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Is that the right move? Because it seems like now Hangman has kind of taken a step back, and Pac has kind of come in and elevated himself in AEW.
So I find it weird that they would do this to Hangman, right? Hangman lost a couple big time matches, and he was the guy who they were looking to build up to be that homegrown star, that guy who comes out of this wrestling federation and becomes the next big deal. And he suffered some pretty big losses, granted to pretty big names. And I think it just kind of tells you he's not yet ready for it, which is okay. You can lose to a guy like Pac. Pac's a made name. You can lose to a guy like Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is a made name. He is like the glue and the foundation for that wrestling organization at this time. You can lose those matches to those guys and still come out of this on the top side. I just find it interesting that it's back to back that he's losing these big matches. It's a really weird way to build a character up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it's going to be a slow build, which I think is good. I think it'll mean more when he starts his promotional work with some losses and some adversity. I think that's a good sign. It's a good sign.
You know what? That adversity is what draws the crowd to you. It makes you a better star in the long run, because, I mean, look at Becky Lynch, right? Becky Lynch has held a championship, and she was Becky 2 belts for a while. Becky Lynch had to struggle to get to that point. And then next thing you know, she got her character over, and her character had skyrocketed and people are on the Becky Lynch hype train. I mean, shit, she's my freaking girlfriend, and she's marrying Seth Rollins. So everybody is on the Becky Lynch hype train all day, every day, and it's because she had to struggle to get to that point. So that adversity helps bring the crowd and the fans to you. It draws them to you because they want to get behind you and push you. So I can see it working out in the long run. I just find it a little bit weird that it's back-to-back massive losses to a young star.
What did you make of Rio winning the championship? It was definitely a size mismatch, but it was a good match.
I thought it was shocking, but when I sat down and I looked at this, right, and I looked at the way they were presenting this match, I was like, the smaller underdog athlete should win the first championship. Just because when you look at it on paper and you look at the size difference, you're like, she shouldn't win. She shouldn't. It becomes a talking point if she does. So Rio winning becomes now a talking point because you have to put it on the rundown because she was so small. She went into this undermatch as an underdog, and yet she gets a big victory. So I think it's the right move for the company and for the organization to have her win it because it now draws eyes to it. And I think her and Britt Baker, because I think Britt Baker is the next up for a title shot. I think it makes for an epic match between her and Britt Baker. I think it could be really, really good because Britt Baker is very, very talented.
Yeah, now what AEW did very well was they established storylines. Now you have a top heel faction. Did you come away with that feeling impressed? Like, okay, Chris Jericho now leads a heel faction, which now includes, the Boricuas, Jack Hager, Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho. I think it's good because now you know who the heels are. Now you know in future weeks some of the matchups that are going to take place. I think it's good because you're establishing heels and faces. And in week one, the heels are dominant. And that's now what you want to see is the faces come back and handle their business. So all in all, in terms of storylines, AEW was written well.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. This was a way for the casual fan to get introduced to the entire roster, or at least a large majority of the roster. Exactly. Because now you know who the good guys are. You now know who the bad guys are. And if you're a fan cheering, you can pick and choose which side you want. I thought the fan base, the crowd that was there, was exceptional, especially during the Sammy Guevara match. When they started calling him an asshole, I thought it was great. They let you know exactly how they felt about him. They let you know exactly who the bad guy was and who the good guy was. So I thought the crowd played a great role in this, and I thought the story writing was well done, especially for a very first episode where you're trying to reach as many viewers as possible. I thought they did a fantastic job.
Yes, just like it's the dawn of a new era in professional wrestling, it's the dawn of a new era on the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. So we shall put to bed the competition between Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown was the, by and large, overwhelming favorite and winner. They won by a large margin in the verdict. SmackDown was dominant. They crushed Raw. The show crushed Raw 59-39.5. And a no credit, but
the no credit, baby. Yes, it was so damn bad.
Yeah, just when one thing is put to bed, something new arises, and what we'll do now is we'll add AEW in the mix, and it's going to be now an AEW versus WWE contest verdict. And what we'll do is we'll debate AEW, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Any of those are open to get points, but this week I think it's fair to say that if AEW wins in the battle, in the ratings, with what they've done, a brand new show, episode 1, a new debut, a hype crowd, decent wrestling start to finish, great 2-hour period of time. Was it perfect? No, but I think it gives them something to build on. So for me, I think the point goes to AEW in the new verdict.
I agree with you. I don't think there's even a question right now. What'll be interesting is the way we handle SmackDown going forward. So with SmackDown next week, we will review what happened tonight, and then we will also preview the big storylines going forward for SmackDown the following week.
Yep.
So it'll be.
We'll get you ready. We'll get you ready for the night's big show. Is what we'll do.
Exactly.
We'll get you warmed up. We'll maybe give you some spoilers, what we think could happen. We'll review the show before, so don't worry. We'll break it all down. It's just going to be a little bit later, and it'll be good too because it'll get you all hyped for SmackDown. But yes, the verdict is consensus. AEW wins the week. They get the first point in the new era of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. All right, I'm ready, cuz.
Hey, Doc.
Yes.
You want to give me the news and notes?
I do. So, cuz,
All right, do it, baby. Let's go.
CM Punk is now part of the Fox family. Is he back in the ring? No. But last week, it was confirmed that he tried out for a WWE show on Fox. He never said, potentially that he's going to rule out a full-time in-ring appearance. Triple H has come out when he was approached with questions, and he said, never say never. But as of Thursday night, it has been signed, sealed, delivered. CM Punk will be part of a studio show on Fox, part of the Fox family. Does this lead to a return? You never know. Never say never. But CM Punk is going to have a unique perspective, and he said in media interviews that if he thinks it's a garbage storyline, he's going to say it. So those shows you're going to want to watch, because if Fox is investing that much money and getting CM Punk in the mix, they're going to want to make some news. And I bet you within a month, he says something that's going to reverberate all over the wrestling world. He's going to talk. His job will be to make noise. That's his job. And trust me, CM Punk will make noise. Guaranteed.
So CM Punk to WWE confirmed. I find this to be very, very interesting, because CM Punk is boys with just about everybody in AEW. But at one point, he got really bent out of shape. He got really upset with the way things were being handled in AEW, because they offered him a contract, and then all this conversation started to come out about whether or not he was going to join AEW and if he was actually legitimately offered a contract. And all of that ruffled his feathers. He's a weird dude. He is a strange cat. And if you make him mad, he holds grudges forever. Forever. So it's really weird that he hates WWE, but it is weird that he would go sign with them just to kind of spite AEW, or at least it feels this way and looks this way right now. I find it interesting, though. You're right. He is in bed with Fox. He's not necessarily in bed with the WWE, but WWE had some say on whether or not he'd be part of that broadcast, I would believe. So all this getting done is very weird to me, but at the same time, I'm excited, because CM Punk is the freaking man.
Look, not even a wrestling match. Just play his music and get him to the ring. That's all you need. And I think if you just can get him to do that, just cut a promo. You now fire the next salvo in the war. If you play that music with The Rock, maybe set up one more dream match. Oh my goodness.
Dude, I'll be at the gym and his entrance music will come on at the gym.
Yes.
And I just get so hyped.
Yes.
I get so hyped and I start singing it. Like I'll take my earbuds out and I'll just start singing it.
Yes.
Because I hear it over my headphones and it just gets me jacked.
Yes. A couple people that are rumored to be at SmackDown. The Bella Twins are reportedly going to be on tonight's episode of SmackDown. Just a reminder that WWE is cramming everything into this show, including The Rock, who will be returning to WWE this week as part of the Friday Night SmackDown. And CM Punk, like we just mentioned, has invited him to say, hey, if you're going to call me like you did a few years ago, call me up. Grab your phone, call me on the air, and we'll make some television magic. Reports are that Michael Cole will be replaced by Tom Phillips as SmackDown gets settled in on Fox in the coming weeks. According to Cody, during an AEW media call, he's now free to use the Rhodes name. Cody also said WWE isn't holding the name hostage, and we should expect to see it from time to time. Similarly, he said he could use the name anytime he wanted, and Vince McMahon wouldn't come after him. I think that's proper respect. Look, it's Cody Rhodes. What are you going to do? You're not going to sue him for it. It's bad business. At this point in time, I think the WWE's taking the high road. Look, at the end of the day, when a media company pays you $1 billion, it washes over a lot of problems. At the end of the day, what Vince is saying is, all right, guys, how long is it going to take to buy this one? All right, 7 years? All right, we'll buy this one in 7. We'll get the library. This is going to be good. We'll own the rights. If they plan it correctly, if they can lean on AEW a little bit, they'll just buy them out. And again, I do actually now, as we're talking, that's why they did this. That's why they went out and said it was good for AEW. If actually AEW does make some noise, Vince will just go out and buy them. Period. He'll just flat out just go, okay, you know what? We'll make enough money. We'll sell enough T-shirts. I'll let one star, maybe Becky, become the huge mega star. Or hell, I'll just repackage Steve Austin for one more match against AJ Styles, and we'll make $1 billion just buy AEW. I think that's what they're thinking. They're thinking, you know what? Okay, fine. We got all this money, and what we'll do is we'll just wait them out. If they're really successful, we'll just make them an offer and buy them out.
It's possible. It's really going to be interesting to see how much steam AEW can pick up and how much of a dent they can really make in WWE. But you're right. Vince has $1 billion. He's rich. That being said, the Khans are an extremely wealthy family as well. So, it could, and they're businessmen, and businessmen make business decisions. They don't really care necessarily what the fans want. It's all about what's best for business sometimes.
Exactly.
And you know what?
Yeah.
They could be selling a company.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if Tony Khan puts $50 million in it and gets $550 back, he'll be a happy camper, and Daddy will be very, very happy. So we'll see how it plays out. But at the end of the day, wrestling is now in a much better spot. A lot of people are excited. People are invigorated. It's a good time to be podcasting about it. I love talking wrestling with you. Love watching the shows. Yeah, definitely you got to come on over and get in the mix a little bit. We had someone in the Flick Chat app in the building. That's how awesome it was, getting live updates. There were some dark matches. So if you're a fan of wrestling, you need to hop into the Flick Chat application and join Detroit Sports' newest headquarters, the Detroit Sports Flick Chat group. And it's really fun during shows, pay-per-views, Hell in a Cell. Look, man, there's a pay-per-view this week. We couldn't even get to preview it because there was so much going on. But I can't wait, right? Hell in a Cell is this Sunday or is it next week?
I think it's next week, I thought.
Okay, we'll double check the schedule.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think
I wasn't 100% sure myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it too because there's so much going on and stuff like that. It might be next week as well, but there's so much going on in the world of wrestling that it's hard to keep track of every single thing that's going on because there's so much. Woo, so much is going on. Let's see, Sunday, October 6th. Yeah, it's this Sunday.
Oh.
So,
damn, we missed it.
It's okay.
Bad,
it's not a problem. No worries at all. Look, we had a jam-packed 45-minute show without a preview. Look, we'll be debating it, and maybe you and I will just go off the cuff and send previews and predictions off the air, and we'll report back on what we think is going to happen. Because, you never know. Because after Friday, some major things are probably going to happen, so we'll probably do an update and report back. We'll still do the competition, but we'll do it off the air and share our results. Deal?
Sounds good, man.
Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thank you guys so much. Follow Dennis Farrell and his Wrestling Perspective podcast with an NWA superstar, Eli Drake. It's a good podcast. Follow Dennis on Twitter at Dennis77Farrell. And thank you guys for finding the Detroit Sports Podcast. We enjoy broadcasting each and every day. And every single Friday, look for the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. See everybody next week.
Just a quick update. I have crossed over into the great state of Michigan. The best.
Hey, he's
Great
here.
weekend.
Oh my